They got hacked. Now you can read what the global elite meet in secret to discuss. It's worse than you'd guess. A quick word before the deep end. This is probably the longest thing I've ever put out. I tried to write it alone and couldn't. About 1,000 words in, buried under a leaked guest list of the most powerful people on Earth, a panel schedule where those same people sit down to talk about building cults and World War III, a tech mogul who spent last fall lecturing sold-out crowds about the Antichrist, and a family tree that runs from a banned 1930s anti-democracy movement straight to Elon Musk. My ADHD threw in the towel, and I had to call Lillian to help me hold all of it in one place at once. So this one's a we, not an I. My honest advice. If your attention span is as cooked as mine, don't bail out and go skim something easier. Read this in pieces. Take it one section at a time, over a couple of days, as that's what it takes. Because every word of it is real, and it's sourced. It's one of the most important stories to surface in months. And you will not see it on Fox, and you will not see it on CNN. There's a reason for that, and the reason is sitting on the guest list. Breaking into the most secretive society in American power did not take a hacker's skills. It took a right click. Click View Source, read the code underneath the page, and there it is, the guest list to a meeting the most powerful people alive swore you would never lay eyes on. 20 years of secrecy, undone because one of them couldn't be bothered to lock a website. That's the whole heist. Somebody got nosy, and the wall came down. Behind that wall sits a private club called Dialogue, founded in 2006 by Peter Thiel. Yes, that Thiel, the man who built Palantir, the company that helps the government track you, tag you, score you, and follow you. The company wired into ICE and the Pentagon and into data about your life you never once agreed to hand over. Every year, his little club flies the most powerful people on the planet to a sealed room with assigned seats and one iron rule. Whatever gets said in there never leaves. The press has politely filed it under Tech Bilderberg. I'm going to call it what the leak proves it to be. The people who own your world, locking the door so you can never hear what they've decided to do with you. And then one of them forgot to lock the door. The person who walked through it goes by Maya Arson Crimeu. And before anybody writes her off as a basement crank, understand that she is the hacker who tore the lid off the United States government's secret no-fly list and cracked the surveillance company Verkada. She found Dialogue's membership lying naked in the website's own code. Wired confirmed it on June 16th. Then a second source slid the magazine, the part that turns your stomach to ice, the full registration list for this year's gathering, August 12th through 16th, outside Dublin. 222 of the most powerful people on Earth, and the schedule of what they're flying there to talk about. The most powerful people on Earth are slipping off to Ireland to plan the next world war, and the cage they intend to lock the rest of us in when it's done. Not one network in this country will breathe a word about it. Quick shortcut for the impatient. If all you came for is to gawk at the famous names, the movie stars and senators and tech billionaires flying to Ireland this August to run workshops on building cults, sit on panels about World War III, and break bread with a host who spent last fall lecturing sold-out crowds on the Antichrist, scroll straight to the bottom. The full leaked list is down there waiting for you. Then come back up here and read the whole thing from the top, because the celebrity roster is the least alarming part of this by a mile, and you need to hear the rest. Start with how desperately these people crave the dark. The hack spilled their own instruction sheet for the people who run the panels. It reminds them the room is off the record. It orders them to keep every comment non-obvious, which is a polished way of saying leave no fingerprints, say nothing a living soul could ever trace back to you. It even coaches them on how to keep their introductions humble enough to avoid status signaling, in a room stuffed with a 4-star general and the Treasury Secretary. It takes a particular kind of human being to need a written manual on how to act normal around the other billionaires. That is not a man enjoying a relaxing weekend. That is a man with something to bury. They scrub, too. Wired found a private dating service dialogue runs on the side, asking the lords of the earth whether they're looking for love. Click that link now, and you get a corpse, a dead page, because the second Wired started knocking, it vanished. Shine a light on any inch of this thing, and that inch goes black. Innocent people do not live like this. Innocent people do not need a gag order, a locked door, a no repeating rule, and a delete button just to eat dinner together. They are this fanatical about secrecy, and they still got caught because they left the entire membership lying in the source code of their own website, like a wallet on a park bench. The very men who swear they can be trusted with every byte of your life, every text, every location ping, every search you've ever typed at 3 a.m, could not secure a sign-up form. That is who is asking to run your future. Remember it the next time one of them looks into a camera and tells you the surveillance is for your own good. Forget the long roster for a minute. Look at the host. Peter Thiel, who got obscenely rich building the machine that watches you, is throwing this party. Now look who he pulled into the room with him. Elon Musk, who spent last year on a stage taking an actual chainsaw to your government and grinning while he did it. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, whose pen reaches straight into your bank account. Ted Cruz, who chairs the committee that is supposed to be protecting your privacy from exactly these people. A 4-star NATO general, the man who would give the orders in a European war. The former spy master of Saudi Arabia. The sitting Saudi ambassador. 6 of the PayPal mafia, the little brotherhood of billionaires, Thiel clawed his way up alongside. Now, read what those people booked flights to Ireland to discuss. Navigating WW3, battlefield technologies, bring back nuclear, build a cult, world war, weapons, and cult building, in writing, on a real agenda, wedged between the war panels like a breakout session on better email habits. The few human beings on this planet with the actual power to start a world war sat down and scheduled a panel on World War III. Not on preventing it, on navigating it, like a storm front they intend to sail through. And a few lines down, a class on how to build a cult. Because evidently that's a skill this crowd wants to sharpen over cocktails. None of this is mine. It is their own program, leaked out of their own database. In their own words. They wrote it down. They simply never dreamed you'd be standing here reading it. And do not forget who is hosting. The same Peter Thiel who last autumn rented a hall in San Francisco and preached 4 lectures on the Antichrist to a sold-out crowd, off the record, no recordings. A billionaire delivers 4 sealed sermons on how the Antichrist seizes the world, and then gathers the most powerful people alive for a weekend of cult building and wargaming. So ask the only question that matters. Was he teaching them how to stop it? Or was he teaching them how to be it? You're allowed to wonder. After everything else in this article, you're a fool if you don't. And none of it, not the names, not the panels, not the sermons, is the worst thing in this leak. This is, of the 222 people on that registration list, not one signed up with a government email address. Not the senators, not the Treasury Secretary, not the Army Secretary, not the 4-star general. Every public servant in that room used a personal account. Do you understand what they did? Government email belongs to you. The law says you can demand to read it. It is the last thread the public holds, the one and only way an ordinary citizen can find out what their own officials are doing in their name. A personal Gmail is a sealed vault you will never see inside. So when a sitting general and a pile of administration officials all quietly sign up under personal accounts to attend a secret retreat thrown by a surveillance billionaire, they are not being careless. They are bolting the door from the inside. They are making a cold, coordinated, deliberate choice to drag this meeting somewhere the law can never reach and you can never follow. They did not forget to use their work email. They made sure not to. That is not a guest list. That is a conspiracy with a catering budget. And your name is not on it. Your future is just on the agenda. They spent 20 years and a fortune making certain you would never see this. So the single most hostile thing you can do to them is make certain everyone else does. Forward this to one person right now before you read another word. A sitting 4-star general signed in under a personal email because the public can subpoena a government account but never a Gmail. I keep calling these people technocrats, and you probably think it's an insult I'm slinging around. It isn't. It's a name. The movement was real. It had a uniform and a salute and a body count of one democracy. It came within an inch of strangling. In 1933, an engineer named Howard Scott founded a thing called Technocracy Incorporated. Hundreds of thousands of dues-paying members at its peak. Gray uniforms, a salute, members who traded their names for numbers, and one goal, printed in plain English and sold in book clubs across the continent. The end of democracy. Not the reform of it, the end of it. Scott called democracy outworn and proposed to abolish elected government altogether and hand the whole continent to a council of around 100 unelected engineers running one merged superstate from the North Pole to the equator. They called it the Technate. They wanted to abolish money and replace it with energy rations. They wanted to track and score every human being's consumption from the cradle to the grave. In 1940, the government of Canada took one look at all of this and banned them outright as a threat to national security. The people living through it understood exactly what they were staring at. It failed for one reason. They didn't have the machine. They dreamed of watching and scoring and steering every soul on the continent, and the computers to pull it off did not exist yet. So the blueprint went into a drawer, and it waited. The machine exists now. It's called Palantir. It's called the data brokers who know which bed you slept in last night. It's called whatever the AI labs are feeding this quarter. And every last one of those machines has an owner or a director on the dialogue guest list. The thing the technocrats of 1933 could only fantasize about got built. It's switched on, and it is humming in a sealed room outside Dublin. Follow the blood. The man who ran Technocracy Incorporated in Canada was a chiropractor named Joshua Norman Haldeman. He called democracy obsolete. He called the Technate inevitable. When Canada outlawed the movement, he took out a newspaper ad calling the ban a blunder, and the Mounties hauled him in. He moved to South Africa later and spent his years there cheerleading for apartheid. In 1971, his daughter May gave birth to a son. The son is Elon Musk, the grandson of a man arrested for trying to end democracy, now seated with the machine his grandfather's movement could only dream about. The Musk family business sounds like something out of a bad James Bond flick knockoff. I am not stringing red yarn across a corkboard. This is Wikipedia. The grandson of the man who ran the Canadian arm of a banned anti-democracy cult spent last year taking a chainsaw to your elected government. Once posted a public poll that read, "Make the Mars technocracy real," and now sits in Peter Thiel's sealed room beside the surveillance machine his grandfather's movement was missing. The plan did not die in 1940. It got rich. It got patient. It bided its time and waited for the technology to catch up to the nightmare. The technology has caught up. This is the destination. Your taxes are paying for it. The cage is for you. Get angry, because being polite about this is how it wins. Picture the world they're building for you. Data centers the size of cities, sucking the rivers dry and breathing scorched air back into a sky the color of a fresh bruise. Picture your home in it, a concrete box stacked 400 feet off the ground, and on the lease, they will have the gall to call it a luxury apartment. Picture your dinner, protein paste squeezed from a wall dispenser, because somewhere back down the road, real food quietly became a thing only the rich are allowed to chew. Picture your money, a universal basic income, that lands in your account on the first of the month and stays there exactly as long as your social score behaves itself, and not 1 hour longer. Every purchase logged, every step mapped, every complaint you dare to make about any of it choked off quietly at the account level. No judge, no jury, no appeal. Just a number that drops, and a life that closes around you like a fist. Thiel, Musk, the whole Dublin guest list, sealed behind glass in private paradise enclaves, built for their own bloodlines, breathing filtered air, sipping something cold, watching the sun go down over the poisoned haze they sold you, and calling it heaven, their heaven, built brick by brick on top of your hell. That is not a science fiction novel. That is the 1933 Technate with the one missing part finally bolted into place, run by the great-grandchildren of the men who drew the plans. The secular world has a tidy name for that finished world. They call it the New World Order, and they say it with a smirk built to make you feel insane for noticing. Scripture has an older name and no smirk at all. The Book of Revelation describes a single global system where no man can buy or sell unless he carries the mark, where the whole earth is herded under one throne, where peace and safety is the honey and the cage is the trap. Believe it's prophecy or believe it's coincidence, that part is between you and God. But you cannot read the Technate with its energy rations and its lifelong scoring and its war on cash and then look me in the eye and tell me nobody ever warned us this was coming. We were warned 2,000 years ago. Last fall, Peter Thiel climbed onto a stage in San Francisco and delivered 4 lectures on the Antichrist. Sold out in hours. Hosted by a group named after the chapter of the Bible where the Apostle Paul preaches to the elites of Athens. A detail so on the nose, it ought to be illegal. Off the record, no recordings, nothing for attribution. And the only reason a single word of it reached daylight is that somebody smuggled the tapes to the Washington Post. That makes 3 Thiel operations the public only learned about because someone leaked the truth out of a locked room. The registration list. The Antichrist sermons. The man preaches in the sunshine and works in the dark, every single time. Here is what he told that room, in his own words. The Antichrist conquers the world by talking about Armageddon non-stop, by talking about existential risk non-stop, by terrifying people so completely about AI, about nuclear war, about climate collapse, that they hand over their freedom with both hands in exchange for a whispered promise of peace and safety. I didn't pick that phrase. First, Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 3. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Paul wrote down the exact words, the great deception purrs into your ear, right before the trap snaps shut. Peace and safety. And a billionaire who builds the surveillance machine reached for those same 2 words on a stage to explain how the Antichrist takes the earth. I'm going to lay the verse beside the quote and let you stand there and stare at the 2 of them, the way I've been staring for 2 days, with the hair standing up on my arms. A surveillance billionaire stood on a stage and explained how the Antichrist conquers the world, using the same 2 words the Apostle Paul did. They call that plausible deniability. Thiel did not aim that warning at the surveillance machine. He aimed it at regulation. He stood in front of that room and told them the people who want to chain this technology down are, in effect, on the side against God. He took the most terrifying warning in all of Christian prophecy, the spirit of Antichrist itself, and he pointed it away from the beast and straight at the only force on earth with the power to stop the beast. He built the thing. He warned you the thing was coming, and then he stood up and told you the people trying to put it in chains are the demons. That is not confusion. That is the oldest trick the enemy owns. Call good evil, call evil good, and then sit back and watch the world thank you for it. And that trick has a verse with its name on it. written down for God by the prophet Isaiah nearly 3,000 years ago. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. The prophets were not inventing poetry to fill a scroll. They were handed a warning and ordered to carry it to a world that did not want to hear it.
And it was written for a moment exactly like this one.
A powerful man on a stage, pointing the word evil at the only people left trying to do good. That moment came last fall in San Francisco. Almost nobody looked up. So, hold his own sermon up against his own party one last time. Navigating WW3, Battlefield Technologies, Bring Back Nuclear. A room full of the most powerful people alive, talking about Armageddon nonstop, doing the exact thing he stood on a stage and swore the Antichrist does. He described the method out loud, in detail, to a sold-out house. Then he booked the venue and mailed the invitations. And on the schedule for that same room, one slot down from the war panels, he penciled in a workshop on how to build a cult. You've already seen most of that program. World War, nuclear weapons, battlefield technologies. Scattered around them sit the panels meant to make the whole thing read like a normal ideas conference. Money does, buy happiness, how's your sex life, and build a party. That last one run by a former White House national security official, because nothing reassures a healthy republic like a retired spook teaching the richest people on earth how to spin up a political movement behind a locked door. But one panel on that schedule made me set the phone down and walk a lap around the room. Build a cult, a breakout session on how to build a cult. A real breakout session on a real schedule, slotted in somewhere between World War III and How's Your Sex Life. The man running that session founded the Christian app Pray.com, a Christian app founder, teaching the global elite how to build a cult, at a retreat thrown by the man who just preached 4 secret sermons on the Antichrist. If a screenwriter handed you that script, you'd fire him for insulting your intelligence. So I followed the money, the way I always do, the way somebody has to. Pray.com raised north of $34 million in venture capital, and one of the lead names cutting those checks was Founders Fund. Founders Fund is Peter Thiel's firm. So the man teaching billionaires how to build a cult runs a company Thiel helped bankroll. That workshop is not a coincidence on a schedule. It is an in-house production, financed by the host. And before you tell yourself I'm reaching, go open Thiel's own book. In 0 to 1, he wrote, in black and white, that the best startups look like slightly less extreme kinds of cults. He is not being ironic in doubling. He is teaching the syllabus he published a decade ago. Let me tell you what Pray.com actually is, because I found out the hard way with my own ears on my own phone. Last year, I came to them as a working Christian creator. I make Christian media. They sponsor and promote Christian media. I figured we were on the same side. And somewhere in that call, smooth as a man who's run the script 1,000 times, the rep asked me to name my annual advertising budget. He wanted to know if it cleared $10 million. $10 million as the cover charge to talk about Jesus on an app named after prayer. A company with a cross in its logo looked at a man trying to preach the gospel and asked to see his bankroll first. That is not a ministry. That is a bouncer working a velvet rope, frisking you for your wallet before he'll let you into worship. I told him, in words gentler than he had coming, that any Christian sitting on a $10 million ad budget has already strolled clean past the entire point of the carpenter from Nazareth, and that he might want to pray on it. He told me our core values did not align. He was more right than he knew. Pray.com is not a ministry. It is a venture-backed machine that raised $34 million to harvest the 2.5 billion Christians on this planet as a market, with celebrity bedtime Bible stories on the front end and a donation pipe wired straight into the app on the back. Their core value is the money. Mine is the gospel. And those two have been at war since the afternoon Jesus walked into the temple, found it turned into a marketplace, and started flipping over the tables. That's the company. That's the founder. And that founder is flying to Ireland this August to stand in front of the most powerful people on earth and teach them, in a scheduled breakout session, how to build a cult. I've already shown you what technocracy actually is, so we can skip the soft version, rule by the smart and the capable. How very reasonable. Forget it. The real thing is a movement that put the death of democracy in writing, got itself outlawed by a government that saw straight through it, and stuffed its blueprint in a drawer to wait for the machine that would finally make it possible. So when these particular people lock a door and sit down to talk about your future, you do not have to guess at the plan. They published the plan 90 years ago. The only thing that has changed is that now they own the machine, and the bloodline of the men who built it is in the room. Lay it all out at once. A surveillance billionaire hosts the most powerful people alive in a sealed room, every official signed in under a personal email, so the public can never see in. The panels are about world war, nuclear weapons, and building cults. The host spent last fall preaching on how the Antichrist takes power and then aimed that prophecy at the people trying to stop him. The cult workshop is run by a man his own fund paid for. And running under all of it like a live wire, a banned anti-democracy movement whose own grandson is in the room, finally holding the machine it always lacked. I am not going to stand here and swear to you this is the new world order assembling in the open, the one world beast system Revelation warned about, the Luciferian world state where comfort is the bait and the cage is the prize. I'm going to tell you something worse. If it were exactly that, I cannot find one single thing it would be doing differently. Not one. Show me the daylight between what's in this leak and what a naked conspiracy to seize the world would look like, and I will print the correction myself, in bold, at the top of this page, and I will mean it. The documents are real. The names are real. The money is real. The sermons are real. The door was open. I walked through it, and I wrote down what I saw. I've made up my mind about what it is. I'm only being polite by pretending the question is still open for you. So here is what I'm asking you to do. And none of it is dramatic, and all of it matters. Stop waiting for the grown-ups to handle this. There are no grown-ups. The watchdogs are inside the building, signed in under fake names. So become the watchdog yourself. Your senator keeps an office, and that office keeps a phone. And that phone is answered by a staffer paid with your tax dollars to write down what you say and pass it up the line. Ask them, on the record, why an American general and a room full of administration officials are registered to attend a secret retreat this August, hosted by a surveillance billionaire, signed up under personal email so the public can never find out what gets said there in their name. Make them answer. Make them put it somewhere they cannot quietly delete. That is your right as a citizen. And a phone call from a constituent who already knows what is coming is the one weapon in this entire story they never bothered to armor against. And then make sure your neighbor knows too, because this is the world they are pouring for your children. And they took great care to make sure you would never catch them pouring it. You are allowed to be furious. You are allowed to be afraid. And you are allowed to say so at the top of your lungs, while saying things out loud is still on the short list of things they let you do. You've seen what I've seen now, so tell me, which one of us is wearing the tinfoil hat? Now the real ask, and it isn't money, not yet. I didn't spend a nightmare of 2 days stitching a leaked database, a banned anti-democracy movement, and a billionaire's antichrist sermons into one place because it was fun. I did it so the thing could travel. Somebody has to reach the people who'll never see this on Fox or CNN, and I can't reach them from this desk. You can. Restack it. Post it. Drop the link in the group chat that's going to hate it. A story like this dies in silence, and silence is the one product these people actually pay for. The most expensive thing you can do to a secret society is refuse to keep it secret. And if you've got a few dollars on top of that share, here's where they go. The wise wolf runs on reader money, which is to say your money and the money of absolutely nobody on that guest list. Dialogue charges its members more than $16,000 to attend one retreat. This newsletter charges considerably less on account of not having a Build a Cult panel to cover overhead. I've got health problems I can't currently afford to fix. A recurring dream about a proper news van so I can report from somewhere other than this desk. And a co-pilot named Lily who'd love to stop negotiating with a bus system that treats its own schedule as a rumor. A paid subscription keeps the lights on, keeps the howling going, and makes sure that the next time somebody leaves the door to the New World Order wide open, there's still somebody standing here willing to walk through it and tell you what's inside. The billionaires have a dating app. You have us. I think you got the better end of it. Help keep the wise wolf howling.